Hello, Miles Maeda here with more modern yoga movement videos for you. In this sequence, we are going to be addressing how to improve our balance through standing and seated balancing postures and movements. Now, some of the sequence can be supported by using props. So in this introduction, we're going to look at how to use some props to help if you have tightness in the body, or if you just like to experience the support of using props. We're going to do 3 postures that can use props. One being a pose where we grab onto our big toe. So if you have tight hamstrings, then you can use a strap. We're also going to be doing a posture called hero's pose, but we're going to do the reclining version, or the version where you lie on your back. And if you have issues with your knees or your hips or your back, then you can use 1 or 2 bolsters. And then finally, because this sequence has a little bit more intensity to it, we're going to be doing a supported version of bridge pose, so that will require a block. So if you have these tools, then we will look at how to use them. If you don't have these props, you can still do the sequence, just modifying the postures to make them a little easier. Okay, let's look at using the first prop, which is a yoga belt. And if you have one with a buckle on it, then you can make a loop out of the end of the belt. That's ideal. If you don't have a buckle, then you can just use the strap and hold on to the ends as you loop the strap around your foot. So the idea is that we're going to loop the strap around our foot, and I like to make my loop a little smaller. And I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to put the loop of the strap around the foot, and normally one would feel to hold on to the strap, the end of the strap. And what happens here is you're using a lot of arm strength to hold the strap, and potentially the strap could slip out of your grip. So instead of holding it at the end of the strap, we're going to hold on to the loop. And this way, the hold feels a little more secure. We don't have to use as much arm strength. You can be a little more relaxed, and you can feel the grip onto the loop of the strap is fairly secure. All right, so if you would like support, then use a strap with a loop. Okay, the next posture we'll look at is the hero's pose, or reclining hero's pose. If you are comfortable sitting on the floor between your feet in hero's pose, but it's difficult to lie down on your back, then you can use 1 bolster. So let's look at that first. So we're going to be sitting on the floor. So that means the knees are together, the feet are separated, and you can roll the calf muscles out of the way and come sitting right down on the floor. So using the bolster in this position, we just pull it so it's right up against the sacrum, the back of the hips. And we're going to lean back on the bolster. So first, you want to make sure you're comfortable, and then you can place your hands behind you. And what's important is to continue to be aware of your body. Make sure that your movements and your postures feel comfortable and safe. It's okay to go a little beyond your edge, but if you start to feel pain, then you want to go back into a position that feels more safe. All right, so leaning back on your hands, that's the first place to check how you're feeling. Then we can come down onto our elbows. I like to come down 1 at a time, so you can just put your hands by your feet, lay on 1 elbow, then do the other side. Now you can feel the support of the bolster in the lower back. And if this feels comfortable, then again, 1 at a time, you can lay down. So place the right shoulder down on the bolster and then the left shoulder down. and you can relax. Now coming out of the pose, we place the hands on the feet and make sure your elbows are under you. So you're kind of shrugging your shoulders up toward your ears. And you can push down on one foot and then lean over onto the other elbow. Now that hand is free, just place it behind you. And then you can push down on the other foot, come back up, and place the hand behind you. And we're back in this first position where we can walk our hands back into an upright posture. All right. If you have difficulty sitting on the floor like this, then you can use 2 bolsters. So we're going to be building a little structure. Okay, so the bolster on the floor is what we're going to be sitting on. Then we're going to put a second bolster, and it will be acting as the first bolster did, supporting our back. Now you can see here the bolster is needing some support, so we can put a block under it, and that's going to support the head. All right, so let's get back into our starting position. So our knees are together, the feet are apart. You can move the calf muscles out of the way, and you're sitting on the bolster. And I like to sit more towards the front of the bolster so it's not pressing against my legs too much, but you do want to feel it supporting your pelvis and your sits bones. Now this top bolster, we do want it still pressing up against the back of the pelvis, the sacrum. And we're going to go into the posture the same way. So you place your hands behind you until you're starting to feel the support of the bolster in your lower back. And then you can come down onto your elbows one at a time. Take your time. And here now we're going to feel the bolster supporting the back, the spine. And then you can rest the head. And just make sure that that block is secure. And this is the other supported version of our reclining hero's pose. And coming out, we'll do the same thing. You put your hands on your feet. Make sure your elbows are supporting you. And then you can push onto the foot with one hand. Roll to the side so the elbow supports your weight of your body. And then place that one hand behind you. Press down on the foot so you can come back up. And then both hands behind you. And then carefully, slowly come back up to the upright position. And that's how you can do the reclining hero's pose with props. All right, so the last thing we're going to cover is the supported bridge pose. So here we will use our block, and we want to use the block either in the low position, the middle position, or the high position. Now, since bridge pose is a back bending pose, you're going to feel it more as a back bending pose if you can put the block in the high position. But if you need to modify it, you can use one of the others as well. So just have the block handy. We're going to lie down on the back. So carefully lie down. And the bridge pose, the hands are just touching the heels, fingers just touching the heels. And we're going to curl the spine up off of the floor. So you want to make sure you can reach your block. And on your exhale, you're rolling the spine up into a comfortable position. And then you can grab the block and place it under your sacrum or under the pelvis and test it. Make sure it feels comfortable. If you need to put it in a lower position, that's fine. Now, the block can either be running the direction of the spine, the sacrum, or you can turn it so that it runs across and it's supporting more of the sides to the left and right of the spine at the back of the pelvis. So some people are going to feel more comfortable with the block in a different position. So try out what feels best for you. And you want to be able to feel the pelvis totally supported by the block. You feel more relaxed. So it's a passive back bend. To come out of the pose safely, you press your feet down, press your arms down, lift your pelvis up. Carefully remove the block. And then when we come down, we're rolling from the top of the spine. So one vertebra at a time, rolling all the way down. And after we do a passive pose like that, so we did a back bend, the counter pose would be a forward bend. But we want to be in a neutral position first, just for a little while. So you can walk your feet a little forward, out to the edges of the mat, rest your knees together, and just feel the effects of the posture. And then after a few breaths, then we can hug the knees into the chest and do the counter pose. So if you'd like to do this sequence with the support of props, these are the props that you can use. When I lead the set, we won't be using the props, but I'll remind you when you can use them. And if you don't have the props, you can still do the set, and we can modify these postures so that they can be done a little more easily.